Hello and welcome back to Kent's Counterpoint, an author's blog. I am Kent Andersen, the Norwegian author that is situated here in Oslo, Norway, and I've written 6 books so far. None in English, unfortunately, but this year, in 2025, I'm going to publish a book on climate counterpoint, because it's very the massive climate information that is coming along all the time is very one-directional. It's very absolute. Oh, the world is sort of suffering, and we have to fix the climate and use a lot of money. And that's something I want you to think about, because fixing the climate is always about buying something. Okay, you have to buy something to fix the climate, or the government has to buy something, or companies have to buy something. And this is a bad sign, actually. The flow of propaganda is just immense. But everyone can see that the climate goals in 2030 will not be, it's impossible. They won't be met. It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible. Actually, it was never possible. But today I'm going to talk about something interesting that doesn't sound very interesting, but it's called taxonomy, the EU's taxonomy. And you think, huh, taxonomy? What's that? Why is that important to me? Well, it is very important to you, because you're going to pay for it. Yeah, because that's what it's all about. Someone's going to buy something, and something's going to report something, and you're going to pay for it. So just bear with me, and I'm going to tell you what the taxonomy is. You have to deal with a new legislation, because the 1st of April, the 1st of, what am I saying? The 1st of January 2025, the EU's taxonomy was introduced to big companies here in Norway, but also other countries. And the results of this and the ripple effects will be absolutely tremendous, because earlier it's been sort of a volunteer. If you wanted to run a big company and you wanted to join the big climate struggle with the politicians, and you know, but now it's not voluntarily anymore, because the taxonomy actually sees to that. So what on earth is actually the taxonomy? Well, it's actually a word from biology to classify things. But in the EU's sense of the word, it means actually classification of economic activities as sustainables to guide all investments toward green transition in Europe. Did you get that? To guide all investments towards green transition in Europe. Now, the green transition is impossible. It's, you know, it's chasing the pink dragon. You can never achieve it. But trying to catch this pink dragon and trying to achieve the green transition is very lucrative, because it's all about buying stuff, whether it's a LED bulb or it's in solar panels on your house. You always have to buy something, or a new fridge, or a new something. You have to buy something, or an electric vehicle. With the introduction of the EU Directive CRSD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive in 2024, larger corporations must now, from this year, submit an annual accounts with integrated sustainability reporting by the July of the 31st. It's not small businesses, but the big businesses will have to do this. And what does that actually mean? Well, it means that previously they could do this voluntarily. They could do the climate measures and try to save the climate voluntarily, but they can't anymore, not with the taxonomy. With the taxonomy means actually that that means that the CO2 cuts that a company does is par with financial reporting. You have to report every CO2 you try to save or try to not emit. and you have to put that into your financial reporting. So see, before, money was important to report to the government, right? And but now CO2 is equally important. That is actually the point of the taxonomy, to force companies to join the climate struggle. This involves actually a requirement for certification from an auditor, okay? Because you send your numbers to the auditor and just, okay, can you certify this? Yes, and he will certify it, but the auditor certifies it. But with the taxonomy, you also have to report all the CO2 your company tries to save, right? And now, the reason this is put in action is because governments cannot control what people think, can they? Well, they try, but they can't. Not really. They can't control what you think and what you do. Not a private person, but they actually can control. They can control and regulate what companies do by law. And the legislation is now being tightened, and companies, they must obey, right? They have no choice. Now they have to be a part of the climate struggle. So why is this interesting to you if you're just a private person and you don't run a company? Well, this is interesting to you because this is inefficiency and bureaucracy that is put upon the companies. They have to hire more people to sort of report the climate struggle and the CO2 cuts they make. And of course, the auditors are happy because they got more work. But what it actually means is that if you run a big company and let's say you make pizzas, right? That you deliver to the stores around, frozen pizzas, and you deliver millions of pizzas around. Before, you didn't have to actually buy an electric truck, right, to deliver the pizzas. Now you have to, because you're going to report it, right, to the auditor. And this means that all the company that makes frozen pizza, they will have to buy new trucks, electric trucks, and everything that means around that, like chargers and everything, which of course costs a lot of money, and that bill will end up to you because someone has to pay. And if the government actually puts costs on a company, what a company always does is send the bill on. I mean, why not? Now, contractors has to renew all the machinery, right? If you run a contractor business, right, build stuff, you have to buy electric trucks, electric vans, electric excavators, because if you don't, you can't report it to the government your CO2 numbers and what you've done to achieve sustainability. So you have to buy all these new machines, of course, and that is very expensive and it's not very ineffective. But that doesn't really matter, because when you run a contractor, you can, of course, just, it's more expensive. Well, who has to pay? You. So if they build a new building for, a pizza parlor, going to put up a new pizza parlor and sell pizzas, well, the building is going to be more expensive to build, because it has to be built with sustainability goals, right? With materials that doesn't emit CO2 and so forth, which are more expensive. So the building will be more expensive, right? And it will take longer time to build. And who has to pay for that? The pizza customers. So the taxonomy actually is sort of a trickle-down effect where the government at the top puts a legislation. They put a legislation. They put a legislation on the companies, and the cost of that trickles down and out the door of the pyramids like a shitstorm, and then hits you. And this is why it's important, right? This is why taxonomy is important, because no paper is talking about this, no politicians are talking there, and there is no actually debate about this, but it should be, because it's actually making Western countries, which are the only ones who really care about this, is make the Western countries less cost effective, less competitive, and more expensive to live in, right? And all this is done to reach the climate goals, which the politicians themselves have invented, you know, by saying, well, let's cut half of the emission by 2030, and in 2050 we're gonna be zero carbon, right? Net zero society, which is impossible. It can never happen, because, you know, the math doesn't add up. Neither do the economy, neither do the logic, neither do the physics and the technology behind it. It doesn't add up. So it's impossible. But they try to chase this pink dragon. They invented themselves, and now they are actually forcing the rest of the society to join this struggle to save the climate, which of course is just rubbish, because it won't work. The climate of the earth doesn't obey like that, and you can't foresee it like that. So all this building that all the big companies are going to do now, they're going to put solar panels on their roofs, and they're going to send so they can report it, right? So they're going to send the bill over to you, which they always does. So it makes everything more expensive, and the bill will end up with you. So that is why the EU's taxonomy is interesting for you. It's a silly word, taxonomy. They actually should have named it like the make everything more expensive bill, or the let's ruin the companies bill, or ruin you. But they called it taxonomy because they don't want anyone to actually understand what is going on and what will happen. So everyone in business is now legally required to pressure each other to do more to reduce the climate, because they can't. You know, if you run a contractor, and you need someone to, you know, I haven't got enough excavators to do this job. I have to use a contractor on me, but you use someone else. And you have two companies, and one of them is a small company that has a regular excavator, which is cheap, but you can't use him. You can't use him. You have to use the other one that has an electric excavator, which is very, very expensive, but you have to choose him so you can report your sustainability goals, right? So this is actually spreading like a cancer all over the business world in Western countries, and it's horrible. It's just horrible. It's evil, you know. It's evil. But they had to do this. The politician has to do this because they will never give up their own sustainability goals. They have put all their money, all their prestige, and all their career into doing this, which is impossible. And they will never, ever give up trying to put it forth. And that is why they make a legislation of it. That's why they put it into law. Now you have to follow our lead. And it's absolutely all for nothing. It won't make any difference whatsoever, except doing life more expensive for you. Well, so that's enough for today from my author's blog. I hope you can share this, subscribe. We're building up this new channel now on YouTube, and I'm going to work more on my book, which I'm going to read a bit from you, from it here on this channel, so you know what's coming when it's coming into the shops. It'll take time, but during 2025, I will guess you'll have a new book about the climate, not from not from a perspective of the science or the climate science, but actually from the view as the psychology behind the climate hysteria, which I want to look more into what it does and why it does like it does. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and please follow and please share and please subscribe, and we'll see. I'll be back soon with more counterpoints which we need to listen to.